Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Data Champions 2026-27 Inauguration Ceremony and Faculty Panel Discussion, the third event of Data Excellence Week 2026, organized and hosted by the Chinese University of Hong Kong Library. This event is held in a hybrid format, streaming live from the user education room here at the CUHK Library. So my name is Xin Zhang. I'm the research data librarian. I'm happy to be your host today, and we're very delighted to have you with us today, whether you're joining us in person or online. So Data Champions 2026-27 marks the third cohort of this important initiative. Through this program, we'll bring together a vibrant network of dedicated student and staff ambassadors from across the university. These ambassadors play a vital role in promoting best practices in research data management within their faculties, while also supporting their peers and colleagues in managing data responsibly and effectively. So our data champions receive dedicated training and tailored resources from the library to prepare you for your roles. They engage in regular meetings and events where they share experiences, deepen your knowledge, and collaborate in working groups on a variety of RDM-related projects. Now it is my great pleasure to invite Professor Patrick Wong, Associate Vice President of Research and the Chair of CUHK's Committee on Research Data Management, to deliver the opening remarks. Thank you very much, Professor Wong.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. So welcome to the Data Champions 2026-27 inaugural ceremony and faculty panel discussion organized by the CUHK Library. We're delighted to have you with us today, either in person or online, as we celebrate the third year of Data Champion program. Funded by the university's Research Data Management Fund, the Data Champions program aims to promote awareness, skills, and best practices in research data management across CUHK. It is a grassroots initiative that engages research postgraduate students and staff from across faculties to serve as advocates for responsible research data management. Through this program, we foster a culture of effective data stewardship, data sharing, and data reuse by supporting a network of dedicated student and staff ambassadors. Today, we're pleased to introduce both our newly appointed and returning data champions from various faculties to the CUHK community. We will also feature a faculty panel discussion on research data management with speakers and facilitator from the faculties of Science, Business Administration, and Social Science. These distinguished scholars will share their experiences working on RDM-funded projects and reflect on key topics and emerging issues that are evolving RDM landscape. All three panelists are recipients of the 2023 round of the Data Management Development Fund. This inauguration ceremony is also part of Data Excellence Week 2026, which highlights the importance of effective data use and management across disciplines. We encourage you to sign up for the remaining sessions in this week-long program and continue engaging in RDM-related dialogues. Thank you very much for joining us today. I look forward to an engaging and inspiring session as we inaugurate our new data champions and learn from the esteemed faculty panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Wong. Thank you so much again for coming. This year, we have recruited a total of 29 data champions, comprising 26 student champions, including 6 returning, and 3 staff champions, including 2 returning. All 8 faculties are represented. Great news. Now we will be introducing our data champions by faculty. Within each faculty, your names are listed alphabetically by the last name. So when I call your name, please come join us in the front and stay here until we introduce everybody. Okay, so come here and stay. Some of the data champions might not be here today. So we'll start by introducing Faculty of Arts data champions. We have 6 data champions in total. Muhammad Moimi, first-year PhD student in the Department of Cultural and Religious Studies. Please, Muhammad. And Anano Chan, third-year PhD student in the Department of English. And Esteban Gonzalez, first-year PhD student in the Department of History. And Sunny Han, second-year PhD student in the Department of Japanese Studies. And Colin R. Mendoza, third-year PhD student in the Department of Linguistics and Modern Languages, who is a returning data champion. Mar Takao, research assistant in the Department of History, who is also a returning data champion. For Faculty of Business Administration, we have 2 data champions this year. Yu Zhuo, first-year PhD student in the Department of Marketing, and Yi Xinzhang, who is also a first-year PhD student in the Department of Marketing. So for the Faculty of Education, we have 3 data champions in total. Lian Liu, third-year PhD student in the Department of Educational Psychology. Zitong Wang, postdoctoral fellow in the Hong Kong Institute of Educational Research, who is also a returning data champion from last year. Mian Zhou, first-year PhD student in the Department of Curriculum and Instruction. Faculty of Engineering, we have 4 data champions in total. Linghui Huang, first-year PhD student in the Department of Mechanical and Automation Engineering. Lucas Kleinhaus, first-year PhD student in the same Department of Mechanical and Automation Engineering. And Mehdi Lothian, first-year MPhil student in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering. And Abdallah, who is a returning data champion, second-year PhD student in the Department of Systems Engineering and Engineering Management. And for the Faculty of Law, we have 1 data champion this year, Si Yilu, second-year PhD student in the Faculty of Law. Faculty of Medicine of 7 data champions in total. Dr. Chen, second-year PhD student in the Zhou Club School of Public Health and Primary Care, who is a returning data champion from last year. And Miriam Fan, fourth-year student, PhD student in the National School of Nursing. And Shu Huahe, second-year PhD student in the Department of Anesthesia and Intensive Care. And Yue Hu, second-year PhD student in the School of Biomedical Sciences, who is also a returning data champion from last year. Timothy In, first-year MPhil student in the Department of Medicine and Therapeutics. And Lin Qingxiao, research assistant in the Department of Orthopedics and Traumatology. Ying Chongxuan, second-year PhD student in the Department of Medicine and Therapeutics, who is a returning data champion from last year. For the Faculty of Science, we have 4 data champions in total. Linda, fourth-year PhD student in the School of Life Sciences, who is a returning data champion. And Ruiyang Shen, first-year PhD student in the Department of Statistics and Data Science. And Karen Wong, second-year PhD student in the School of Life Sciences. And Natalie Wong, first-year MPhil student in the Department of Earth and Environmental Sciences. For the Faculty of Social Science, we have 2 data champions, Ke Yichen, second-year PhD student in the Department of Sociology, and Qi Wei Song, third-year PhD student in the School of Architecture. Congratulations and welcome to all our data champions this year. We look forward to a productive and collaborative year ahead as we work together to promote research data management, best practices, and initiatives across campus. So it's time for group pictures. So now we are very delighted and honored to welcome our 3 esteemed faculty members to today's panel discussion on research data management. All 3 are recipients of the CUHK Research Data Management Fund. Professor Jerome and Professor Yuqing Zhou will be sharing insights from the RDM funded projects, followed by a panel discussion facilitated by Professor Julian Farnback. So during the discussion, we'll also open the floor for the audience to ask your questions, either from in-person audience or for the online audience. So let me introduce you to our esteemed panelists. So Professor Jerome is a biologist and professor in the School of Life Sciences at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. His research interest covers marine biotechnology, molecular ecology, and biodiversity conservation, as well as evolutionary biology and genomics. He earned his doctoral degree from the University of Oxford and both his bachelor and master's degrees from the University of Hong Kong. Professor Hui has previously obtained the RDM Development Fund in 2023 for a project focused on sequencing data for biological organisms. In his talk, he will introduce how his team has carried out this RDM Development Fund project. Thank you very much, Professor Hui, for sharing with us today. Professor Yuqing Zhou is an assistant professor at CUHK Business School. Her research focuses on the real economic effects of accounting, with particular interest in the links between accounting, international trade, labor markets, and voluntary disclosure. Professor Zhou received her PhD in economics from Michigan State University and a second PhD in accounting from UCLA Anderson School of Management, and her bachelor's degree in finance from Peking University. Professor Zhou is a recipient of the RDM Development Fund in 2023, working on a project that examines how financial reports quality influences international trade using China-US data. Thank you very much, Professor Zhou, for sharing with us your RDM funded project. Professor Julian Frombeck is an assistant professor in the Department of Psychology at CUHK. He joined the department in 2023 after attaining his PhD from ETH Zurich, Switzerland, and completing a postdoctoral research fellowship at Columbia University. His research focuses on age diversity and aging in work-related contexts, investigating social interactions among age-diverse employees and their implications for personal development, social relationships, and organizational learning. Professor Frombeck is a recipient of the RDM Development Fund in 2023 as well, working on a project about building digital self-advocacy for continued employment. Thank you very much, Professor Frombeck, for facilitating the panel after the presentations. Now, let us begin by hearing from Professor Hui. Please, Professor Hui.
Good morning. So, congratulations, being the data champions for this year. So, what I'm going to do, because I'm a biologist, I'm a scientist, maybe very different background from what you're doing, maybe some in medicine or in science may be more closer. So what I'm trying to do is to tell you the background of about this project, and then some of the experiences that we have experienced. Hopefully, from this sharing, you may be able to think of something that may be useful for your own project. So I try to go back to the library website and see what we are supposed to do today. The three of us are supposed to do. So we see that the whole idea is to understand why do we need to deposit data in the library. Well, why don't we just publish as it is? So I look into our website, and actually, well, this is where I tell you the background when we did that, and then the whole idea remains the same. So we were got funded in 2023, which is actually only the second round. This depository only started in 2022. At that time, people tell us, say, we are going to have a new database in the university, in the library, and are you going to deposit something? And then we say, okay, we can try, and we have no idea, and how is that going to do? Because everyone seems to be doing things differently, even though you're producing the same data. Everyone has a different practice. And then even in my own lab, people in the lab, we have slightly different practice. And I think, well, why don't we try it? I really like the idea of our database because it allows CUHK researchers, for example, to meet the requirements of publishers and funders. For example, of course, different fields and different disciplines may be different, but when we do publications, okay, so when we submit or you get the reviewer comments, etc., but sometimes your data are not open yet, right? So the way that I benefit and our lab benefit a lot, or our discipline benefit a lot, if we can deposit the data in the library and then we get a link, okay, that is not open to the public yet. That is only going to be useful for the reviewers, okay? Then the reviewer can actually assess the data themselves in order to judge how good the quality is for scholarly work, okay? I think that's actually very good because you submit to a public database sometimes, then well, sometimes they need deferral, etc., then you need open at the same time. So this is some advantages that you can consider putting the data in the library for many reasons. One of the many reasons, preserve and share research data to the scholar community, which is very important because for our disciplines, we want, well, I'm a scientist, so we want data that will be open and then everyone can reuse to repeat experiments, to also find things that they need, okay? That may not be covered in your own experiments, to do their own experiments. So open data are very, very useful for us. And of course, increase the research impact and citation counts, etc. That is something I download from the library, okay? And I trust in this, okay? Talking about trust, okay? Transparency, responsibility, user focus, sustainability, and technology. These are things that you may consider. I don't have time to go through, but I'll talk to our nice colleagues in the library. They have lots of workshops, okay? Coming back into my own project, I work on biodiversity. I'm a biologist. We work on animals and plants, etc. Don't worry, I'm not going to go into that too much. Just one more slide, okay? The data that we are dealing with, I'm talking about the sequencing data, okay? I'm not talking about other source of data today. So I'm simply talking about the like Sanger sequencing data, DNA genome sequencing data, and RNA transcriptome sequencing data. I know even talking about that, you don't want to listen to me anymore, okay? So I switched the gear. I'm going to use an example, what we have done in those like half a year or 8 months or so. What do we actually use? Thank you for the very generous initiative funding that we actually employ a colleague and also some research, some student helpers to help with that. I'm going to go through what we have done, and then I think what we have learned from that, what we didn't expect, and what will be useful in order to setting up, because the one that I want to set up at that time is what are the principles, what are the data, which kind of data we want to deposit in library, not just everything, what are the useful ones, what will be making public, what are the protocols, etc. So, and also we have workshops because that was very new at that time. So to begin with, we start with my very genuine and I shouldn't say advice or maybe suggestions for your consideration is to start something prepared for discussion. At the beginning, as an idealistic person like myself, I always say, wow, why don't we have a meeting? And then just everyone shout out your own idea, okay? Then we just get a list. Everyone will have go into all different directions. So well, after, of course, I mean, we later employ somebody, and then we actually draft down something. At least start something with a draft, okay? Because we want a user manual at the end. The whole idea is that you do not need to listen to me. You just watch that manual. Even though you haven't gone into workshop, go into that manual, you know how to deposit this type of data. And that will facilitate such thing back into the library. That's the whole idea at that time. So we start with a preliminary user manual and then ensure that, of course, after listening to many people, well, we have some numerous, I shouldn't say crazy, but maybe it needs some time to be able to achieve such that we talk to the library, because at that time, we just like upload the data, describe. That may not be so useful. I mean, only for that, then we also need other functions to be included. And very nicely, the library can also include some of the other functions. For example, like what I just said, some of the data we want to just deposit there first, but we don't want to make it public. So, but because for like reviewer process or maybe like, I also talk to colleagues later because I would say that at the end as well. Some colleagues also think about, how about if we have a student that has graduated but haven't published that yet? Okay, maybe some more work needs to be done, or maybe applying for a patent, or maybe setting up a company, etc. These are all different considerations that I'm going to go through later. So make sure that at least you have something to start with, and then you discuss and set up the backbone. That is what we start at the beginning, which makes things easier. Then, of course, you still need to engage with your multiple stakeholders. So we start with something small. Start something small and talk to the experts. So we actually go back. The first one, we just go back to my lab. I mean, get some pieces. I mean, get some drinks, etc. And then say, well, why don't we just talk? What do you think if we are going to make the data available in library? What are the benefits? Which are the ones that we cannot do? What are the benefits, etc. So we set that up. You listen to, you do the both qualitative and quantitative feedback. Quantitative, of course, I mean, don't mark down any names. I mean, just see what, I mean, and then of course, qualitative, you really ask those who are really engaged to give them more opinions. And then you also share. I mean, there's nothing secret. I mean, at the end, it's going to be able to just share with others and say, well, what do you want to do, the different input? So that's how we do it in the first round, modify and improve the draft. And then we need to step a little bit outside first. So we go to the School of Life Science, which is in a wider community. So at the beginning, because at that time, not everyone know about the database. So we also invite the library to send some people to come over and give some talks, Then we explain what we want to do. What we didn't realize at that time, which I will tell you at the end. So we just give a talk, And then after giving a talk, we do a workshop. So very nicely, the library allow ourselves to just show a demonstration. How do you actually this type of data, what type of data can be put in through what all procedures, and people can try. If you ask me to think about what can be further improved at that time, I think if you remember what I said at the beginning, we have a preliminary draft, and then you talk to people in the lab and then further modify it. If you can actually share that modified draft beforehand, before the talk, that actually will facilitate. Because at the end of the workshop, people will think, can you just send me the protocol? So so I think in that way, that may be better, because you may be able to receive even more feedback. That is what I think transparency is the key for the development that I would think. But what I didn't expect, for example, even we are in very close field, in biology and life science, then people begin to have different questions. Okay, so you probably will be expecting something similar. For example, we were doing those animals and plants genome or transcriptome sequencing. Then people may think, oh, can this rule be also applied in, for example, I saw there's a returning champion somewhere from the School of Life Science. Anyway, talking about microscope, I mean, the pictures, I mean, can it be doing like that? Then also, even slightly different field, you're thinking about the same data, we think slightly differently. Okay, because for us, we think, oh, just open. Then people say, oh, how about this and that? I mean, like a patent issue, etc. Then you really need to think about different ways to modify your protocol, not to suit your own group, but actually shooting more people. Okay, it needs to be tailor-made. I mean, getting back from the feedback of everyone, then I think we further modify it and further. So as I've said, the way should be, if you share beforehand, then you won't, the Q&A section seems to be longer than the talks and the workshops. So that is something, but they are very useful. But after that, we take a challenge to actually go to the whole university. We knew it beforehand that we'll be receiving numerous questions, and indeed it was. So we do a new talk and the workshop. Okay, well, coming from a biology and science background, of course, like people coming from medicine, the immediate question will be asking, how about the human data? And I say, I'm dealing with, of course, I know you're doing with DNA and RNA data. I'm very specifically talking about animal and plants in this case. But of course, humans also have a human ethics concern, etc. So you get more and more. I mean, so that's why I think if your data, maybe you need to specify what they are, and also think about different incorporation into different views as well. So I know Julian are going to ask some questions later, so I'm not going to say more. So but this is useful because you know, I mean, you're trying to make something that will be very useful for many people. And if you're not sure, I think maybe that will still be useful. You say, well, this data are animal and plants. I mean, then that would be easier. But people always want to expose, I mean, or explore the different possibility. So finalize the feedback and see what other people are doing, what can be done, what cannot be, etc. And at the end, we try something that I think is very, very useful. Is we ask somebody, or maybe an undergraduate student who hasn't attended any workshop or talks, so no idea. I say, well, why don't you follow our protocol, the manual, and see, can you try to upload the data like that? And then you can do it, understand what we say. And I think that would be like the quality check at the end. So that's pretty much what I want to tell you what we have done in a few years ago. So what I didn't expect, which is very nice, is that there's some organization that people actually use the data for the students in order to try to do their own project. So that's how I think it's a very good facilitation back into the students' education as well. So with that, I mean, are there any other thoughts? I mean, I think I know Julian are waiting, so I'm not going to say too much, but you always have some unexpected challenges, unexpected fields or opinions, views, etc. So and you need to find new solutions, which we save this bit for later. But my 2 cents, I mean my genuine suggestion for your consideration is that always communicate well with colleagues in the library, because they are the one who really will try to tailor-make things that make things work, I mean, which are very, very nice. For example, from all the data immediately to publish, then you can unpublish it, or you can save it before by the time you want to release it. Things like that. You cannot do it by yourself, okay? So you need to communicate well with colleagues here, okay? So that's what I want to say. And again, I'd like to thank the library for the chance of this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Hui. Thank you very much for your sharing. So next we'll hear from Professor Zhou. Thank you.
So morning, everyone. Before listening to Professor Hui's presentation, I thought, yeah, I prepared good slides. And because Qing told me like I need to share the project I'm using, the data management fund. But then I realized that I prepared these slides for the academic audience. Like, but I think probably is the target, it's not that fit for the target audience today. So I probably will change a little bit of what I plan to say. Like I will briefly summarize of this project. I won't like spend 20 minutes to explain details about this project, because as if I remember correctly, there were only a few students from business schools, and others are from like very diverse background, like science, other social science. So I think people wouldn't want to listen to like 20 minutes about the details of this project. And then I will probably spend a little bit of time about like how I use this fund to manage the data. And I think that's more related to today's theme. Okay, so with this background, as I said, financial reporting quality and international trade is a project that I'm using the data management fund. And again, as I said, I want to briefly introduce this project. The reason why I'm interested in this topic is because, as I think everyone would agree, in the past several decades, the international trade grows very fast. As you can see that starting from 1970, the international trade only consists about like 25% of the world GDP, and it grows gradually from here to, for example, here 2020, it grows to about 55 to 60% of the world GDP. So it means that it's a very important part of the world economy. And because of this, it's important to understand what are the driving forces or what facilitates the international trade. So in this paper, I want to investigate one new factor, that is the firm's financial reporting quality, and see whether and to what extent these facilitate export and imports. But the first part is focus on exports. And also, I plan to investigate the potential economic mechanisms behind these effects. So these are the potential, the reasons why financial reporting quality could facilitate international trade. For example, it can alleviate information asymmetry between trading partners, because the financial reports, the information contained in the financial reports could facilitate your trade partners to understand your performance, whether you can pay the money on time, whether you can deliver the products on time. And it can also facilitate firms to raise external capital, which is very important for firms that involved in international trade. Because compared to the domestic transactions, international trade involves have higher risks. So the firms in many cases rely more on external capital. And also it facilitates firms to overcome cultural barriers. Okay, so let me see. I will just skip the related literature contribution And I would just probably just summarize the brief overview of the main results. So for this project, I first use the country sector level analysis, which means that I use a country year level financial reporting quality measure, and then the country sector, bilateral country sector level trade data to conduct the country sector level analysis, and find that if the origin country's financial reporting quality increases, it facilitates their exports, which means their exports increases, and the effects are larger between countries when they have a large cultural distance and the political ideology distance. So this is the first part of this project. And then I want to investigate more details, like what kind of firm level characteristics would affect the magnitude of the effects. So then I conduct the firm level analysis. That is the part that I benefit the most from the data management fund, because this later I will use a little bit of time to explain this data set. This is a very huge, huge data set, and I hired like research assistant to help me to clean the data set, do the name matching, and then store the clean the data set, and then run the analysis. And for this firm level analysis, I confirmed that when the firm's financial reporting quality increases, they export more to the rest of the world, and the effects are smaller when the rule of law in this country is stronger, and larger when the company's industry is more concentrated. So as I said, just to skip the details of these, I think the analysis, but spend a little bit more time on data points. See whether I think I will just use more time to explain the firm level data set, as I say, because I benefit the most from the data management fund for this data. The name is Panjiva. This is a US export and import data. It's at the transaction level. So it's a huge data set. The data I have is from 2009 to 2025. And in the raw data set, it's kind of quite rough. And what we need to do is to first match first is a US firm, and then the other part is a foreign firm. And we first need to match the US firm to other data set I need to use. For example, other widely used financial data like CompuStat, CISP, like these kind of data set. In order to do this, it is easier for the US data is because we managed to find a common identity for each firm. So this part is relatively easier. And the other part is we also want to match the foreign firms to their financial reporting, financial data, and that part is more challenging because there is no common identity. So we need to do the name matching. We use, this is also related to Julian's question, like whether we use AI to facilitate this. The answer is yes. So we tried different ways to do it. The first is just to hire RA to do it, to manually do it. And then we also tried to just upload some part of the data and ask the AI to do the name matching. And surprisingly, actually, AI is quite good at this. AI is quite good at this. And for example, I first asked one AI, I say, just manually do it. Like I asked him to manually match like 1,000 lines of the data. And the other AI, I said, other student, I said, you can just upload the data to ask AI to do it, and then please confirm it, double check it. And then the second students, after checking I remember he told me that the correct rate is about 70 or 80%. That is quite high, actually. Even you manually match the data, sometimes the accurate rate is not that high. So which means that AI is good at doing this to facilitate our data cleaning, data matching process. And after doing this, after matching like different data sources, we need to do some other data cleaning procedures, and then save the data and then start to do the analysis. So of course, we need to use other data set to generate other variables. For example, the financial reporting quality measure, we normally use, this is a widely used measure in the accounting literature to measure the probability of the earnings management. Although we didn't do it, starting from the raw materials. The raw materials is the financial reports. And because nowadays we have already had the clean data online on the words, so we can download the CompuStat data and use the data points from that from the CompuStat to generate this variable. So the most challenging part is the Panjiva. Okay, yeah, I think I just skip the research designs because I think this is not what people are interested in here. Anyway, I think this is a brief summary of my research, and I think it's better to reserve some time for the audience to ask questions about the data management, and if I can provide any points that are useful for the students. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Professor Zhou, for your presentation and for your sharing. Please take a seat here. And I would like to invite Professor Hui and Professor Frumbat to take a seat around the table here. And I will hand over the time to Professor Frumbat to facilitate the panel discussion for us. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
First, okay, great. First, let's turn on our mics. Okay, well, okay, great. I guess then we can start with the panel discussion. Okay, thank you so much for coming and presenting your research finding and also the data management related to it as very insightful, I think, also for me, like learning from each other's projects. Yeah, so for the panel discussion, I think it's really about you. And yeah, if you have any questions or any thoughts, I can maybe start with 1 or 2 questions, but then I really would like to open this also for your questions or any discussions, and then we can see how we go from there. All right? Okay, great. So in your presentations, you already mentioned, you mentioned, oh, this is, very helpful, and you mentioned many benefits, but also there are often some challenges, right, when we implement that, and some details. So maybe as a first question, I would like to ask you, could you maybe elaborate on a few challenges that you haven't thought of before in the beginning, and that may emerge during the process? You wrote on your slide data size, so maybe data size, but maybe also something different, or maybe there was some change in the planning. How did you manage that? Yeah, you want to go first, or whoever wants to go first?
Okay. So for the challenge or something I didn't expect, I think is data quality probably. As I mentioned at the very beginning, I planned to use both the China and the US data for the export and import data. I actually got both of these data sets, but as you can see that in the slides, I finally decided to use the US data is because when I started to clean the China data, I figured out that the quality of the data is not, sometimes it's not that good. So when I say it's not that good, it doesn't mean it takes me a longer time to clean the data. It is because I cannot 100% guarantee that the data set I bought or the observations in that data are 100% accurate. So I heard that there are different versions of this data set, and then I don't know whether I got the full data set or only the 80% of the data set or 60% of the data set. And also I read a few different prior papers that uses the same data set. But I found out that it seems like the summary stats are a little bit different in those papers. So I think it's better for me to not use a data set, and I'm not 100% sure whether I got the full data set. So this is the question or the point that I didn't expect. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Okay, maybe we are coming from a very different disciplines. I mean, so the data that we deposit in the library are the data generated by ourselves, so the quality are good. Okay, so we generate the data over here, so the quality good. So that may not be the issue that we are facing, but I think Julian mentioned right. I mean, data size is a big issue because our data are talking about in gig, GB minimum, okay? And then we have laws. I mean, so that's why I think we should always communicate with our colleagues well. But because if we just upload it, it takes ages. So sometimes when we just get a hard disk, go to the library, or then say, well, can we do something? That would be actually much more faster, especially we are in scientific field. Every second is important. So that's why I think that's very, very useful. And the other one I have already mentioned in my talk is at the beginning, we didn't expect, we think nobody is looking into our data. When we start, we just put in the library, we just get it to public. And then we see actually there are many people downloading it already. And then before we publish, so that's why we asked the library back into having the function of stop releasing until we are ready, or we also later we also have a data link that can be sent to the outsider reviewers during the manuscript evaluation. So these are things that we didn't expect at the beginning, but while we are along the way, then communication is the key. That's what I would think.
Thank you so much, Jerome and Yuqing. Okay, and my second question would be, the data management plan actually requires a lot of planning, right? But actually that also offers opportunities to think of maybe aspects that turn out to be really important for your project that you may have forgotten if you didn't really, do the management plan. Do you have examples for that?
Okay, I'll start first this time. Well, we have a very interesting experience along the road, and then we learn a lot. I mean, from that, and so that's why when we are thinking about data management planning, the earlier that we do will be better. But it's not only the early; it's to involve multiple stakeholders. That is to listen to the views, and that will be because if you just start something quick, I mean, then eventually things will come back and you need to modify. So why don't you try to listen to different opinions to start the management plan? So that will be better. I mean, at least to the best you can. That is something that we experience. For example, we think from our side very scientifically. We can put down the raw sequencing data, the assembly, all the different steps, I mean, that we put in, okay? Data sizes are too huge, okay? And then not everyone wants every step, so they may want the raw data, the final product, and you just list out the protocol, how to do that. That may be something more, most of the other fields will be interest, okay? So then you actually spend a lot of time do all the different steps, upload everything. Then okay, from that, if I already start from the beginning, we know what people actually need, okay? And then you just list out all the other things, then that help. So again, communication at the early phase will be useful. I mean, that's my point, yeah.
Yuqing?
Oh yeah, I may have a little bit different experiences because I always also had a plan before starting, but then I realized that when I started to clean the data, and then I realized that there are some new problems raised, and then I have to change the plan. Or this is not a bad thing because, for example, I came up with a new idea after the new issues raised. For example, I still say when I try to clean the Panjiva data, the US export and import data, at the very beginning I saw this data set is also very comprehensive, and it should includes the foreign trade partners quite comprehensively. And I also compared this data set to a few other data sets that also track the U.S. firms' foreign trade partners. I saw that Panjiva, given its, it says that it records all of these transactions, foreign transactions, it should be more complete than other data set. And then I realized after comparison, I realized it's actually not. And then I stopped my original plan and start to figure out what happened and what's the reason. And because I need to understand the data set before like moving on. And then I figure out a few different reasons. And then I start a new project actually, in addition to this one. Thank you guys. About the because of these issues raised up. So my experience is, of course, I agree with you guys that we always need to have a plan. But if there is a new issues raised up, you don't need to worry about it. Probably it means new like research opportunities. Yeah,
that's great. So it actually led to even two projects. That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing. Okay, great. So you already mentioned like, starting. That is actually a perfect segue to my next question. When should, students or researchers, whenever they do a research project, when should they start with the thinking about data management? Or what are maybe parameters that, are relevant for that?
Okay, that's a good question. I mean, so I think well, there are a few steps I think will be useful. I mean, at the end, by the time they submit the thesis, all the data that are included in the thesis must be included in the library. I think that will be very useful. Of course, during publication, etc. But along the pathway, I mean, during the research process, like a research degree, I think at some point now we already know this is the data you need. Then once they are there, you can start earlier because you may be, for example, the raw data will always be the raw data. You won't change anything. So the raw data can already deposit. But the other things like you may be tuning different parameters in our field. You may need to tune different parameters in order to get the final product. Then that can wait until that is the best standard that we go for. So you need to have a balance in between the data input, the quality of the work, as everyone say, but you also need a documentation of things. So we are lucky because in our lab we have a service. So to host the data, we track everything, but that may be very different to different fields. So you may need to have a plan, a documentation, discussion maybe with supervisor, what are the key different milestones that you should consider keeping the record of data, etc. For your consideration. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Zhou. Okay, Yuqing, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, for me at this stage, I normally first come up with a research question, and then I will explore like which kind of data set I can use to answer this question. And then after getting the data, I start to have the data management plan. But for the students, I think probably the sequence is a little bit different. I still remember when I was a PhD student, I also spent some time to get familiar with the existing data set. Like after reading the literature, I will know, okay, there are some data sets available there, and to answer the questions I probably will be interested in, because like without knowing some of the data set at least, then it's also not easy for you guys to come up with research ideas. So I think for the students, it's good to first know some existing data set that used in the prior literature, and then start to think about like what you are interested in and come up with new ideas. And then you can explore new data set actually. And then you come up with a data management plan to clean or the new data set, and that would be more novel. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, maybe at this point, just to pause here and see whether there are any related questions in the audience. Okay, yeah, over there.
Hello. Okay, hi. So this question comes from the amount of experience I've gathered, not just from myself, but with working with a lot of other data champions in this program here. So just to preface, this is my third year returning here. So there's a lot to consider now at this point. So last batch, we had some discussions on what it is that the data champions could really accomplish versus what could also be done on the lecturers and professors and all the teachers' side. So one question that came up, or one discussion that came up was whether the departments in each of the faculties have a sort of rigorous research methodology class or research design course. So something that I'm sure the terms are different, but I think you know what I'm talking about here. So to that extent, this is a question for the three of you. It could be a very difficult one. Do you think that this so-called research design, research data management, these principles, do you think they could be reflected more in the current curriculum in your departments? If so, then what could be done? If you think it's enough, well then, oh, good news, right? But I think it's more of the former, right? So great, thank you. Thank you so much for your question. I think that's a great question. I can also speak to it, but I would first, let you respond to that.
It's great to be the moderator.
Yes.
Okay. We are in science field, so my answer will be very easy. Yes, because we are already doing it. I mean, when we publish data, I mean, we always need to make the data public, open. I mean, so that's why we choose to make it. It's very easy for us to do so. So we also have our research courses. I mean, that for our postgraduate students, then they must take is essential. I mean, there's a core course to which they need to learn the research methodology, etc. So we are very lucky that it's existing, but we listening to your question, I can understand they may not be a standardized way. So maybe I will pass back the question to my colleagues.
So just make sure. So the question is whether it's good to incorporate some of the data management stuff into the research methodology class. Oh yeah, I definitely agree. Because like I can just say our field, like or the business field, I think we definitely have research methodology class. This is general. And but I remember like the methodology class I took is mainly about some econometrics method, but it's lack of materials about like how to handle the data itself. I think I learned it by myself, or talking to other like students or more senior students, or after having some first-hand experience myself. But I fully agree with you that if we can incorporate some of these the real like data management stuff into our class, it'd be very useful. So this I fully agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I also agree with you guys. I think same for psychology. Many of the stats classes, at least that I took, research methods, it's mostly about the data analysis, really, but less about the data handling or data storage, and the data management plan. First time I heard about data management plan was when I applied for a research grant, and I had to submit a data management plan. So I also had to study and learn by myself, and search in the web how to actually fill it out and what to do. But yeah, the requirements are getting more and more rigorous, which is actually good. But it also means that we should actually educate and help our students to be able to fulfill these requirements, I think. Yeah, so that's a really good point.
So if I may supplement a little bit, I mean, back into what I answer, I mean, so of course it's good, but if you ask whether more training may be needed, I think that is always good. The reason is because, well, you will see that, I mean, for example, I just use our field as an example. 10 or 20 years ago, we just work on one genome. That's enough for a whole, not only for one PhD, it's numerous PhD. Now, people work on numerous genomes. So the data you will be expecting, the science advancement keeps on going, the data will be generating more and more. Of course, good thing is that we will be finding out more and more things, but the skills that are required in order to manage the data, analyze the data, these are going to be more and more important. So yes, I think the more the training, the always the better. Yeah.
All right. Are there any other questions in the audience? Okay. Yes, please.
Hi, thank you, Professor. It's my first year being here, and I'm from the School of Nursing. I have two questions because this is my final year and I'm about to write up my thesis, and I have no idea what about data management when I first started. So I guess I would have to do this retrospectively. So my first question is about the ownership of my data. For example, Professor, your data set is you got some from others, and then you do the cleaning, you put effort in it. So that relate to two of my systematic review where that's not my original data, but then I just like try to synthesize according to my methodology. So is that I own the data set according to my publications, or is that attribute because this data, I just do the synthesis? So that's my first questions. And that related to another, because I got my original data from my RCT and stuff. And I'm sure that's very accurate. The quality is really good. So that's my own data. Can I claim that's my own when people try to use it? And the third is that also related to you, you're from psychology, sociology background. I'm sure you do lots of like qualitative study and stuff. So when it comes to qualitative data, people have different perspective. So what if I share my data and people have different views? Do I get challenged, or like what are the things that I have to be mindful when I share all those of my data? So that's my question. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. So this question is about ownership, and so do we have a lawyer here? But very, very, very relevant. So I think what you mentioned, so if I summarize the question, is about ownership in general, if you buy data or if you also generate data by yourself. Any experience?
Maybe I'll start first, but again, that would be very discipline specific. I mean, from my point of view, for us, I mean, because our data, we generate our data, and then to my own understanding, the intellectual property, the IP belongs to the university. That's what I understand for my field, my data. But when you're talking about the analysis of those, etc. So and for the other part, because we may be in different field, I have a very good suggestion. That is, talk to your supervisor and also talk to the colleagues in the No. If you really want to find out, I mean, I don't think I can answer that. I mean, in a very irresponsible way or responsible way. So, but for us, I mean, we generate our data here, funding, etc. I understand that the IP, the intellectual property the rights belongs to university for mine. Okay, that's what I understand. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think this really depends on, I face a lot of different cases. I cannot summarize it in one sentence. Like in our fields, when getting a data, there are many different ways. The first is you subscribe it. And if you have the subscription, then you can use the data. But I cannot say like I own the data, because there are many other people who have the access to the same data set. And then you still need to like spend time on cleaning the data. And whether the clean the data is yours, it's kind of like a gray area. It's hard to say. I also need a lawyer to tell me like whether I own the data. But the thing is, nowadays, like in our field, there are a couple of journals who ask us to share the code. Yeah, and when you publish the paper in that journal, and they said if the data is an open data, then you also need to share the data. But in many cases, the data is not open data. Especially some data set like a signed agreement with the company. If I got the data, for example, I got the data from Glassdoor and a signed agreement with them that I cannot share the data with anyone else. So if that is the case, then I still need to share the code, but I don't need to share the data with the journal to facilitate others to replicate. So, but even for the Glassdoor data that I signed the contract, the agreement, I cannot say I own the data. I think the company owns the data. I just have the right to use the data. So another case is if you collect the data all by yourself, I think maybe it's a little bit more safe to say that that's your data. But it also depends on the original sources. Yeah. So it's really hard to summarize in one sentence, I think.
Yeah, that's a really tough one. Actually, does the library, do you want to add something here? Do you have anything to share here?
Thank you.
Yeah, so to our understanding, because we do have a guidelines developed by the library and the Committee on Research Data Management on this very topic, it's the whole guideline on RDM, and there's one clause about ownership of data. So actually the university owns the data of all the research projects you're doing during your study here, because you're using the facilities and resources of the university. So yeah, CHK is the owner of the data for most cases, I would say. Maybe there's some exceptions, but I think that's the general guidelines specified in the guidelines document. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Xingxi. I think maybe just something to add when I collect my own data, right? You mentioned interviews or also quantitative data. It actually already starts with setting up and planning and collecting the data. So what do you tell participants, right? There's usually a consent form, and it includes information about data protection, anonymity, confidentiality, and also data storage. So how long will the data be stored? For 5 years, and then it will be deleted, or so I think sometimes that's kind of the default in our, in our template, but I changed it to anonymous data will maybe uploaded to a data repository. So I try to make it already clear and during the data collection that this data might be uploaded to a data repository. It's not about ownership, but yeah, it's related to it maybe, yeah. Okay, here's another question. Yes, please.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing. And I really enjoy it. And I have a personal concern about data sharing, maybe due to my poor understanding of the new technology, especially about AI. You mentioned that you use like AI to help you for the data cleaning or matching. I'm just concerned about just the data, because the business companies and they use AI tools. We upload our data and we contribute to their data pool or maybe data set. But I don't know, just I have this personal concern also about the safety of our sharing, like the professor who's like the sequencing DNA or RNA data, people can download and it's open. And why some evil people use that for bad purpose? How can we guarantee that just the access is safe for I can say I'm a researcher and I can download your data for good purpose, but how can you protect that? Just very safety issues I have that. Thank you. What do you think about those questions? Yeah.
Thank you so much for the question. So we are getting in like moral aspects of data management, which is also very important. So thanks for sharing, for mentioning and raising that point. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? Yuqing? Jerome?
Okay. Right. For your first question, it is not a question for us because, as I've said, I'm so lucky to be a scientist. I mean, the data, we follow every step, but we have a different software that we document everything. We know everything what we do. So like the informatics that we do, for example, you have the data. That's what I mentioned at the beginning. And originally, I thought we need to do every step to have all the data. No, you just need the raw data, you list on which software you use, and then you do the final product. The final product also need to, like the genome, also need to. So that is very standard and very easy for us. That's not a question for us. Relating to your second question, for me, yes, we make the data public, but we also know what, for example, human data. I'm trying to look into nursing student. So those are, of course, you have ethical issue, etc. That's we also have a very tight guidelines in university. And not only for that, I mean, even for animals and plants, etc. We also take a look very seriously into what kind of data we are generating. So that is not just we have a quality check, etc. So again, my good suggestion is if there's something that is unclear, talk to your supervisor and talk to our colleagues at the library. No, you need somebody additional or professional advice and suggestion. Yeah, that is a genuine suggestion, because even myself, when I'm unclear, I need to talk to people. Well, is this data? I talk to multiple stakeholders. A different one may think differently, and they will say, "Well, is this the right way or not?" So again, back into my first point, communication. Communication is always the key to me. Yeah.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah, I think nowadays there isn't a very concrete rule about this, but you always need to be very careful about this. Still use the example, as I said, like for example, I got the data set from Glassdoor, and it's based on agreement. I cannot share the data set with anyone else, but I still need someone who helped me to do the data cleaning, data matching, especially the data matching, because the firm name in that data set is different from the firm name in other data set. So I actually communicate with the economist at Glassdoor and say that I need to hire RA to clean the data and do the data, the name matching. But I figured out a way that we can do this, but at the same time still keep the data proprietary. The way is to only keep the firm name, that one column, not including any other information in that data set, and save it. And then I just ask the RA to match the data name with other data set without knowing anything else. Because this is not necessary. It is not necessary for the RA to know anything else about the data set. I just need him or her to help me to do the name matching. So this is a way. And if like you really signed an agreement with a company to do, then you need to communicate with them and see whether they agree with you to do this or that. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions? So about the data management plan, storage, creation. Not for, oh, here, yes.
Thank you so much for sharing. I'm Lily from the library. May I ask Professor He, what's the current status of the user manual? Because you mentioned the user manual, and I want to know.
Oh, I thought. Thank you for the question. I thought we have already submitted in our completion report.
Yeah. I just want to know whether do you still revising it after
oh yes, we do. Yeah, and originally I thought the manual would be put in somewhere in the library that people can actually also download. Of course, communication. That's what we should also do. Yeah. I think we from time to time, of course, there may be different requirement or standard that people may be coming into. We modify from time to time, but the goals, well, what we call the gold standard, right, is also be pushed higher and higher. Then, of course, you need to come back and revisit them from time to time. Yeah.
Thank you, because I think the user manual is very wonderful. Yeah. So it also can apply to different faculty and disciplines. Yeah.
So the way that when we start the user manual at that time, so what we experience is that people know these are the nice protocol, but in a very different scenario, like my data is this can also do this. Then that is the way that I think is relating to the question that the lady has asked. And that is something that we may probably need to look into something then to facilitate people into able to more like sharing the data. That is something that is quite interesting. Yeah.
Thank you. May I ask one more question to Professor Zhou? That is because you mentioned about the data cleansing is challenging. So I assume that the Panjiva data is proprietary data. Am I correct? That is expensive and high.
Yeah, you can say that because we need to subscribe it, like pay the subscription fee every year. Yeah.
I want to know, is it any time limit that's for your agreement that you can use that data, and what's the challenges for data cleansing, and do you think what kind of the library can help in this part? Thank you.
Yeah, actually, exactly, like the agreement has a time. So which means that when we, as I said, if we subscribe the data, then we can only use it for 1 year. And but the good thing is that before purchasing the data or subscribe the data, I talk to or I communicate with the company. I say that at least in our field, it is impossible to finish a paper in 1 year. So if then we set up with an agreement and say that I can still use the data I downloaded to finish the current project. I started within this year, but I cannot start any new project. So if I want to start new project, I need to subscribe the data again. So otherwise, I said, otherwise I have to subscribe at least like 2, 3, or even 4 years data to finish a couple of projects. That's impossible. So I think you need to let them know, because before talking to them, they may not they may not know this. They said they thought maybe you can finish a project very quickly, but that is not the case, at least in our field. So so we need to communicate with data vendor about this. Yeah.
Right, great. So then I have 2 more questions, actually. I'm really curious about, and since we have time, maybe I would like to continue with them. Actually, the first one, Yuqing, you already mentioned AI. I would like to follow up on that. And can you explain a little bit more, maybe any challenges, or what are your considerations in setting this up? And when would you not advise someone to use AI? When would you advise it? And then maybe also Jerome, have you also thought about that? Yeah, so maybe Yuqing first.
Yeah, I think if there is a concern about it, I agree with you. That is how to, because if we upload the data and ask the AI to do anything, I'm pretty sure the company, no matter whether you use, ChatGPT, Gemini Cloud, they will keep the data. So you need to prepare for this. So that's the reason why I just said I never upload the entire data set, or even maybe just a subsample of the data set, but still include all of these variables or information in the data set. I would try to upload as limited as the information as possible, because I assume that they collect all of the data set I upload. So as I said, if I try to link merge the firm name, then I only upload the firm name. So that is not useful that much for them, actually, but I can finish my job. So you need to first think about this and then decide what you upload, what you do not upload. Yeah, I highly recommend not upload the entire data set or all of the variables in the data set. I think they would keep them. I'm not sure how they use them, but given that we signed the agreement, I think it's not very good to do this. Yeah.
Right, and maybe before just a transition point, because also always speak to your supervisor about it. So
you take my point.
Yeah, it's really important, especially uploading data, sometimes sensitive data on AI related tools. I think that's something very important. So before you do that, and you think, oh, I'm super smart, I can do something very quickly. Communicate and talk. Yeah.
So I understand that some colleagues actually will purchase a server for internal use only within the lab itself, and then implement the AI inside, so the data will just be within there. Okay, that solve all the security issue, etc. So that's one thing. But relating back to that, Julian said my point, and we at the same point. Talk to your supervisor. Talk to you. No, because as I've said, the field develop very, very quickly. No matter, and the impact on different fields are going to be different, and also at different pace and rate. So the standard is always going to get higher, but people have concerns, which can understand, but the technology is also advancing. So how to strike a balance about all these very careful, clever, and smart solution among everyone. Talk to people experience, because we are all sitting on the same boat. We want to do good standard in high quality scholarly work. At the same time, there are also lots of data. These are the future challenges, and we'll find new solutions, I'm sure. Yeah.
Still, I'd be interested. What about your specifically in your project, Jerome? Did you use it, or it was not suitable? Which is also
as I said, with science field, we the informatics we're doing is a very standard. We have different software. We follow every single step very clearly. Of course, we know students will, if they want to do a different code, they may ask AI and then change it. That is tuning the existing software to different parameters. So, which we understand is sort of learning. I mean, but we don't just put AI to. But I know some colleagues do that, and they have the way that they do. They will use our internal server to host all the data. That's my understanding. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. So one more time before we end the discussion, are there any questions in the audience? Yeah.
Thank you so much for your informative discussion. So I'm also a returning data champion from last year. And one question that was maybe bothering me a little bit that I want your input on. So I'm pretty sure you've supervised many research students or research assistants in your projects. Is there any research data management related like skill or knowledge that you feel like they are lacking that we as data champion can maybe support, provide like more workshops or more info sessions on? Because that would help us like maybe do our job better. Thank you.
Thanks. Since I nod my head, okay. So yes, of course. I think just judging from the questions that you have listened today, obviously everyone is interested in the latest technology in order to help your own research to get into a higher standard. But how to strike the balance, what are the standards in different fields, what are the skills that are required, etc. I see that students are always very eager to work on different technologies and try, but once you work it out, it's just running, right? But how to analyze all those, which is the best one, which is the better one, I think certainly more workshops will be good for library consideration.
Yeah, I also agree that more workshops would be very helpful, and maybe target different fields in different workshops. Because I do think that as I talked to Professor Hui, I think different disciplines really have different data management skills and needs. So like probably at least a target like science, social science, like different workshops would be very helpful.
Thank you. My concluding question, you can also ask respond very quickly. We can always, in research, right? We can always do better with our next project. So learning from your, as I'm interested in learning, right? Seeing, our work as always a learning experience. I would like to ask you, regarding the data management plan and everything. What have you learned? What could you do better next time?
Briefly speaking, I think I'm interested in learning some new ways, new methodologies, or new tools to manage the data. For example, like AI. Although I have already used the AI for something, but I think there's still a lot of room. But of course, at the same time, pay attention to the proprietary stuff. But I still think there are a lot of rooms for us to exploit AI tools to help us to manage the data, and not only the AIs, but maybe some new methodologies to help us to manage the data. So this is a part like I want to improve myself. A new methodology, new tools.
All right, thank you, Zhou.
Okay, so for me, I think because there are more and more data, and then as I mentioned before, I mean there will be more and more data. The way to which we manage the data will be different, and the way for analysis, etc., will also be different. So coming back into your very nice question, so maybe it's not only a workshop, maybe like a course. I mean, then at least there will be some generic skills that people need to get, certain standard, and then further advanced workshop can be back into discipline. And that may be more useful for the whole community in our CUHK. How everyone will be equipped, at least, even though they may not be using that in depth, at least they will have the right mindset of understanding what's going on, especially fields are changing all the time, and then that can be updated every year. And then advanced field then can go back into different faculties, etc. So yeah, I mean, it's exciting.
Yeah, a lot to learn always, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Jerome. Thank you so much, Yuqing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, for facilitating.
Thank you so much, Professor Zhou and Fan for facilitating, and for both Professor Zhou and Jerome for sharing your insightful projects with us. And I've been hearing several buzzwords coming from this panel discussion, right? Communication, when in doubt, always chat with your thesis supervisor and your librarians, friendly librarians at the library. And also I'm hearing buzzwords about data cleansing, data analysis, documentation, and also how to plan for the continuation of the different data projects, and then the ethics and all the very important and relevant information and topics that we will discuss in our Data Champions program. So this will be an excellent start of our Data Champions cohort 2026-2027. So I'm sure both our audience, online audience, and in-person audience have learned just as much as I did from this excellent panel discussion. And thank you all professors very much again for your participation. So today, our newly appointed and returning Data Champions, 29 of you in total, along with the faculty leaders, have just inspired a renewed commitment to building a data-savvy community at CUHK. You're helping to shape an environment that fosters impactful research, responsible data practices, and innovative collaboration. So we look forward to witnessing the meaningful contributions this Data Champion program will continue to bring to our community here. Thank you to everyone who joined us today, including those of you who are online, to celebrate the inauguration of our Data Champions 2026-2027 cohort and to engage in thoughtful discussions on research data management. Your participation has made this event truly special. So thank you once again for coming. So this concludes our session today. And thank you so much again for coming. We still have some refreshments in the back. Please mingle over the food before you leave, and please take a moment to look at the posters in the back. All right, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you. Bye.